Blessed be everyone. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are talking about witchcraft, Wicca and nature, that sacred connection and the role that nature plays in the craft. Not that it really plays a role, I mean nature is nature, but the way that we word it, what role does nature play in Wicca and witchcraft? I'm going to give you that answer today. Before we do though, my name is Sandra. I'm the author of Crafting Your Wiccan Path. If you want to know more about Wicca and witchcraft, magic, tarot, shadow work, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss any videos. If you want to know where to start your witchcraft practice, but you're just confused about what do you need to know and how do you pace yourself along the way with all of the information out there, I have a free video. It's called How to Start Your Witchcraft Practice. There is a link in the description field below this video for how you can watch that one. So let's talk about this sacred connection that Wiccans and witches have with nature. One of the first things is we work with the elements. So these are the classical elements of earth, air, fire and water. And the way that we work with these can be in our spell work. So for example, if we're doing a candle spell, we're working with the element of fire and the energy of fire, which has a very active energy, and it's generally seen as being, dry and warm in its energy. So we're doing candle magic, we're working with the element of fire. And we're working with the elements in magic to utilize their energy, the fiery energy, or a watery energy if we're doing spells regarding water, or the other two, earth and air. But we can also be working with the elements in order to balance the elements within ourselves or a situation that might be around us. So for example, speaking of fire again, there might be a lot of heat in the air. Maybe you walk into a workspace or something and there's a little bit of conflict going on. People are a little fiery. So you might want to settle that down by projecting and working with the element of water to just water and dampen that fire down a bit so that people can be a little bit more compassionate and are probably just a little bit more less heated and being able to sort of take a step back and calm down. So that's another way that we can work with the elements, is to balance them either within ourselves or within an environment. We also work with the elements for their energy and their power. If you want to do a really powerful spell, there's nothing more powerful than going onto the cliff of a gorge on a windy night under a full moon. There's a lot of energy coming from the water of the gorge, of the waves crashing against the rocks. You've got the energy of earth underneath you on the rocks, and you've got air, that element of air with the wind. So you're working with three elements there to really, really get you feeling into the power of the magic. And under a full moon, you've got a really powerful moon for manifestation as well. So we can harness the elements to feel more powerful and generate more energy for spell work. And that's another way that we can work with the elements as well. We also work with the elements in a circle. So when we're setting up a sacred circle, we will have the elements represented at the 4 points around the circle in order to guard and protect the circle from any hindrances or any negative energy or spirits coming from those 4 directions, and that's the watchtowers. The second thing or aspect of nature that we work with is the solar cycles. So these are what we call the Sabbats or seasonal cycles. We have 8 of these. We celebrate the solstices, so the winter and summer solstice, and also the 2 equinoxes, the spring and autumn equinox. And then in between those, so for example, in between the winter solstice and the spring equinox, there is another aspect to the seasonal cycles where it's transitioning from winter through to spring, and so we have another Sabbat in between there, which is Imul, for example. So there are 8 Sabbats, and they signify the cycles of the earth that the earth goes through. They also signify the cycles of agriculture. So when we were learning agriculture, we would taking a lot of notice of the cycles in order to plant and harvest. But also, even before agriculture, we're very dependent on the cycles of nature. There's certain foods that are available at certain times and certain foods that aren't available at other times. So we had to learn to sync in with nature and prepare for certain cycles of nature so that we could survive through those cycles. And that is us connecting to nature, just the same way that animals have to do that with the cycles. And honouring those cycles and respecting those cycles, rather than trying to change them, just connecting with them and learning to sync in with those cycles within our own lives on a psychological level too. You know, can we be more introspective and give ourselves more time for reflection and restoration during the winter months? And when it comes to the summer months, there's more energy and more productivity. We're feeling more creative in an outward way, maybe in the warmer weather, whereas in the cooler weather we might be more introverted in the way that we're doing things. So just understanding our own cycles is a part of that connecting to nature, and the relationship between the earth and the sun, and understanding that the sun has a huge impact upon the earth. It impacts our cycles, our seasonal cycles. It really impacts the heating and the warming up of the planet, which is also cyclical as well, but much longer cycles than, say, yearly cycle. And it really does influence what goes on within planet Earth as well, which affects our seasons and cycles and weather. And the sun has a huge impact on our weather. So it's understanding our connection to that solar energy and working with that rather than trying to work against it. It helps us appreciate the seasons too that we don't particularly like. Some people are more winter, some people are more summer, some like in between. And when we are in a season that we love, it helps us understand how we're feeling during that time compared to how we may be feeling when it's a season we don't like, and how does that change? How do we change during those seasonal changes? Another aspect to the connection to nature is the lunar phases or the lunar cycles, because we're also, as a planet and as people, very influenced by the cycles of the moon. So we work with that as well. And when it comes to magic, we're working with the cycles of ebb and flow of, or waxing and waning of the moon. And the waxing of the moon, when the moon is getting bigger and bigger before it becomes full, it's growing in power. So that's when we do our spells for things that we want to bring into our lives, things that we want to expand and grow. Then when the moon starts to wane, after the full moon, yes, then we are looking more at concluding things, getting things wrapped up energetically, and also anything that we're wanting to let go of, that is a good time for us to let go. So we're working with the cycles of the moon every month, looking at what we're bringing in and what we're letting go of. And that also comes to our emotional state too, can be influenced very heavily by the moon, and the moon's relationship to the other planets, and the moon's relationship to the sun, which is the whole cycle thing, is its relationship to the sun as well as the earth. So it's just noticing that as the moon transits, how we feel during its connections to other planets and also to its relationship to the sun. Number 4 is herbs. We work a lot with herbs and spices in our work, whether that is in magic or whether that's for the healing aspect or cooking aspect. We work with herbs a lot. Herbs have been known for their medicinal properties for a long time. And we tend to go more towards natural medicine and what nature has provided, and learning about all of the benefits of various herbs in regards to our health, but also in regards to magic. Everything vibrates, everything has a frequency and vibrates at a certain frequency, and the different herbs also vibrate at different frequencies. So when we're wanting to do a spell for something, so for example, if you want to do a spell to bring in some extra money, you're looking for herbs that have a similar vibration to that desire. So you might want to work with herbs like cinnamon, for example, or nutmeg, that have a frequency of money, energy, or abundance or prosperity associated with them. And so that helps you vibrate at the level that you need to vibrate at, or the frequency that you need to vibrate at, to attract that extra bit of money. So that's one of the reasons we work with them in our magic. They're called correspondences because they correspond, their energy corresponds to the energy we're wanting to vibrate at, to bring whatever it is we're wanting to bring to us or do with our magic. They play a huge role in many of our spells. Another thing is sacred spaces. So this could be groves in a park of trees. This could be forests. This could be gorges. This could be anywhere where nature is powerful, like a power spot in nature. So we tend to like to do our rituals and our magic in nature, so outside in a forest or at a beach or somewhere where we're really connecting to nature, when there's not a lot of human influences around. To us, nature is home. Nature is real, the real thing from a feeling point of view. The things we humans construct, like our cities and our concrete jungles, and they don't resonate at the same energy that nature resonates at. And we often have this need to be in nature a lot in order to feel whole again and feel real again, and feel that what is real and what isn't. That's the only way I can describe it. Nature feels real, whereas the concrete jungle of the hustle and bustle nature of our human lifestyle seems more stressful. We live very stressful lifestyles as humans. When you go into nature, even though nature can be harsh, there's something more real about it, and that's another thing about it. So we go to these places that have, some places have more energy, some places have better energy than other places, or have the type of energy we're wanting to work with. So some places like swamps, for example, have a swamp energy, and there's a lot of work you may not want to do with that kind of energy. So you'd go somewhere that has an energy that matches the type of energy you're wanting to work with. Another aspect of working with nature is our connection to animal spirits and plant spirits as well. So when we're working with animals and plants, we're not just working with having them as pets or having them in the garden if they're plants and admiring them, or just working with them for food. We're working with the spirit of the plant, the spirit of animals. And animal spirits are often guides for us. So in the spirit world, there's spirits that take the form of animals. And we may have a connection with a particular animal spirit, like a crow or a magpie or a wolf or a dingo or something. And that can be like a spirit guide or a spirit messenger. If animals come into our lives suddenly in weird ways, they could be a physical representation of an animal spirit message, and so we may look to see what that animal spirit might be saying to us as far as a message about what's happening in our life at the moment. The same with plant spirits. They have spirits as well, and we work with them whenever we cut a plant to use in magic or to use in food. We would thank the plant for that. And if you're somebody that hunts your own food, then you would thank the animal for that as well. It's a way of being respectful to what it is that we're taking, because we're essentially taking their life from them, and or taking a part of them if it's a plant, and causing damage to that, and in a way, and even causing some kind of stress to it, because plants feel stress too when they're cut. So we thank them for that. Sometimes, plants will appear to be calling us, giving us information about what they can do for us as well. Medicinal plants seem to have a history of doing that for people who are able to go into trance states and communicate with the plant spirits, that the plant spirits will actually tell them what it is that they can do for them on a medicinal level. And lastly, I just want to talk about that whole respect for nature, that we're very careful about how we treat nature, educating ourselves about how nature really works, and not necessarily always listening to what the mainstream so-called experts say, but actually really looking deep down in for ourselves to find out, you know, how does nature really work? Doing our own research about nature, looking at all of the different angles and the history of nature, where planet Earth's been in regards to cycles over millennia. What type of cycles, you know, do we see that the Earth has experienced over time, rather than just relying on being told, actually going and having a look at it for ourselves so that we can gauge where the Earth is for ourselves and connecting to that. It's like we're stewards of the Earth, and so it's not about trying to change nature to suit ourselves. It's about us working with nature and working in harmony with nature as much as we can. So there are about 7 aspects to how witches and Wiccans connect with nature. If you do want to really get into your spiritual practice as a witch, as a Wiccan, I do have a 12-month course called the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy. It is a course that's there for you to connect you to your practice on a daily basis, to connect you with you, to connect you to spirit, to the goddess and God, bringing it into your life on a daily basis so that you feel that your life has meaning. Often there's a pinching off that we have with spirit where we just feel like, what's the meaning of life? Or there's something missing from my life. You might have a lot of things going for you in your life on in a material way or even in a relationship way, but there's still something missing and you're looking for that missing link. That's your connection. That's your connection to yourself, to your spirit self and your witch self, your magical self, who you truly are. And your connection to nature is a way of you understanding that too. But more than anything, it's your connection to who you truly are and discovering your potential, discovering your purpose, discovering what you're doing here and what you're capable of. And that's really the essence of a spiritual practice, is to find that and discover that. And you can do that through witchcraft, you can do that through Wicca, and that's what the Mystery Witch School 101 Academy is there to help you do. Over a 12-month period, each month you're given new information, new things to do for that entire month to connect you with who you truly are again. So there's a link to in the description field below this video for how you can enroll in that course. If you liked the video, hit the like button, share it with your friends. Don't forget to subscribe. I am Sandra from mysterywitchschool.com. Blessed be.